Okay, I can tell you one particular interaction that's near and dear to me, and it's that my evolved Belphegor can now trade into Civil and kill it without dying on the crackback. Like that has always bugged me, and now I don't have to worry about that.
Nice. Well, those are the important things to look out for, and they truly are, right? Sometimes these number differences, as you guys mentioned with the Soul Squasher, can make the whole world of difference, and let's see if that's going to help either BestMarmotte or Essia, or hurt them in this instance here, as they get kickstarted here. Blood versus blood.
So now this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup, just because it always tickles me a bit when you have a class that is like in a mirror match, but you're watching its polar opposites in work here. So Essia has got, similar to what we've been seeing before, this very, very grindy sort of control blood list. This one runs some different win conditions. It has the Azazel spawn package, whereas BestMarmotte is just running plain, tried and true aggro. He is curving all of this into Karabos, and he wants to win this game quickly. Once again, I'm gonna let the Bloodmeister handle this. How do you think that this works out?
Well, generally, Control Blood should dominate this matchup. This matchup feels miserable when you are aggro blood, okay? But there is a deciding factor for this, and I think Essia has like best possible hand he can have against aggro blood. Like right now. Best possible hand. But one of the major deciding factors, and this actually comes down to like going first versus going second, is that Control Blood actually would prefer to go second. Because that extra Evo point really helps when it comes to controlling the board. And it likes also drawing more cards, because Control Blood is a reactive deck. So it being proactive against such a hyper aggro deck doesn't really work too well sometimes. And but right now, I think Essia is good. I can't. It's hard to imagine that with the draw that Essia has, that he could possibly lose.
And there's Revelation on top of all that. Yeah,
I know,
we saw
like, pretty there though. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really hard to but they're like, okay, he can't, but it's hard to lose.
We saw earlier, like Matt Allen just, I mean, we kind of just saw it happen, and then all kind of looked away uncomfortably, like it was like a car accident or something like that. He just smashed through Control Blood earlier with an aggro deck, but I think in that situation, he did manage to both be on the play, I believe, and he had like this access to a ton of Storm, like all the Storm Sword has. When Marmotte has opened like this, and Essia has drawn 2 Scarlet Sabreurs and Vampiric Kiss, I don't know. It doesn't seem like something aggro could push through in any capacity to me.
See, there's a big difference between aggro sword and aggro blood, okay? Aggro sword's damage comes from Storm, right? Aggro blood's damage usually comes from like little small weenie followers and doing indirect damage, like with this Vanian, for instance. It's just unavoidable damage. It is a lot easier for Control Blood to be able to withstand the damage from this type of damage than from Storm.
Like, as we saw that game, I'm pretty sure the finishers were like the round table on like turn 5 with double Joliet coming out of it with an Evo into like Albert, Centaur, Vanguard. It just didn't stop. But here we're already seeing Marmotte kind of starting to run out of resources. That Vanian is a huge push of damage, but past that, he only really has Bat Generation and a little utility in Angel of the Word, but this is where Aggro Blood really, really needs to find Karabos, if anything. And as you said, 1 damage a turn it's a lot of time for a deck like Control Blood to just figure out what it wants to do, how it's going to react to survive.
Essia has back-to-back Sabreurs, okay? Just gaining 2 health off of a Sabreur and then being able to Evo it, trade into something, that's really, really good. It's hard for Aggro Blood to just be able to maintain dealing damage in such a manner. Because again, they just don't have access to the Storm outside of Blood Wolf, or if they're running Dark General randomly.
Thankfully, Essia is just doing fine there. I would. This is like a lot of situations like this. It's like I get so scared when I see this because I'd hate to see them lose such a advantageous position. But yep, jams that Sabur back up to 15. He's healed already, I think 4 between this and the Vampiric Kiss. So it's looking so rough for Marmotte here.
Well, Marmotte does have the Night Horde to be able to deal with the Sabur, but that Razor Claw will help too. I mean, I don't think he plays it here, but he has to be careful about Vengeance though. Has to be careful about that.
I don't think Essia runs, like, some control lists sometimes run Blood Pact and the like to try to get themselves into Vengeance, so you can play around it a bit, but I think the only card that really puts him into Vengeance for himself it's between Blood Moon and Belphegor. So he can comfortably drop Essia down to just like the range of 11 defense and he'll be fine. For the time being, this could be pretty scary. He actually chooses not to go for the Night Horde, perhaps to trade. And Evoing Face would set him to exactly 11. Okay, I like this line of play a lot.
Hey, sounds good to me. This at least will give him, Marmotte, the ability to flood the board with more followers should this get cleared. Now,
so
him playing that, I guess that's okay. Yeah.
I like it a lot, actually. Going for the Summon Bloodkin is like, okay, so Essia is control play. He's been on the play, but whatever. He's on his turn 6. He can't Blood Moon into Revelation. He can't like Belphegor into it, obviously. At best, he tries to go for like single ticks of damage or has Hungering Horde. But for lack of that, his best reply is just to summon another Sabur. That's his last Evo point gone. I still don't think Marmotte's in a good position, but this is the closest thing you could say.
He's running low on options. And if this push is unsuccessful, and I think he's just going for it, which I don't agree with whatsoever. I think you still have to avoid Vengeance. So Essia actually could do something like Diabolic Drain into Revelation if he wanted, just to gain the health. Or he could just play Rev and hope that his opponent doesn't draw into well, I guess he would have to draw 4 damage. Which
my boy Alucard.
Hey man!
Every time I see Aggro Blood, I'm just like, come on. Get my boy Alucard out here. He's like one of my favorite cards in the game, but I think the Diabolic Drain is fine here. I think if he throws it out, he still has Emeralda to deal with the body of Karabos if that gets sent down on him, and that's like the best play that Marmotte really gets off the top. So, ooh, he decides to hold it though.
That's interesting. That's really interesting to me. But I guess he figures I'm just not in danger of dying. And he's not.
No,
I mean, he is being at 5, but you know what I mean. Like, he is being at 5, but not as much.
Yeah, it's little things. Like, if Marmotte was holding another Razor Claw and then drew one, then that line of play wasn't really, didn't really get him out of that. But at the very least, he can toss it down now and get that healing anyway. So, yeah, looks like Essia is just in a great position. Once he gets to turn 9 and plays Temptress Vampire, I don't see how he loses after that. I think that's just simply going to seal it.
I mean, actually, what he could have done was he could have Diabolic Drained and then played a Righteous Devil if he wanted, just to get that out. Because once Righteous Devil starts swinging, at that point, like, what do you do? There's nothing Marmotte could draw here that's going to get him out of this. Now, this is exactly the power of Control Blood versus Aggro Blood. Right. Wow, okay. So if it wasn't already bad...
Answers the bets too, you know, like, this is what this deck was made to do, is just not lose against aggro in any capacity. And I think that's more or less it. But moving on, I think Essia is going to be playing, what, Ramp Dragon into the same sort of aggro list as well as Burn Dirt. I think that could be pretty tough for Ramp Dragon, but we'll have to see, really.
I mean, he's definitely dead. He didn't attack in the not. I'm sorry, he didn't play the Sonic Chain so that he didn't die, but he's still dead.
Eats 13 cards from aggro. and ends the game with 13 remaining defense. I didn't mean to actually lead into like the same number there. I was just observing.
Well, hey man, it happens.
I still feel ripped off that I wasn't able to say that I have casted a mid-shadow game where someone on turn 7 had 7 shadows and 7 cost cards, but I'll let it go.
We're really close today. Really close.
All right, but moving on, I think Essia's got a pretty strong Ramp Dragon list. We did get to take a peek at it before, but you know, if we can have a time where the like Sybil's change is like important, as in it can decide the outcome of an entire like of who moves on, really. It's really this game. Like, it has to be enough for Essia to be able to take back 2 games, and it's not like Dragon can really sort of make this deck happen without Sybil. She's not really replaceable, so I think that's going to be the most important thing for us to be watching out for.
Well, we see Sybil. It's in hand.
This feels so weird, dude. She's not a 3/4. Like,
yeah,
it
you still look at her as a
weird.
4/5. Yeah, you look at her as a 4/5. She's not a 4/5 anymore, man.
She grew up as a 4/5, you know? Like,
She went back.
I have all kinds of uncanny valley just like looking at that 3. I can't even see the 4, and I don't want to. But at the same time, I did want this change.
Yeah, so you're on the okay, Sybil stats needs to be changed train.
Perhaps. I mean, as you said before, like, sometimes just changing like some of the stats of a card can like kind of make this huge difference. I mean, there are some times when like a card will be nerfed and they increase its cost by 1, and if you think about it, that is kind of like a stat nerf, as in it now costs more than what its stats that weren't changed are worth. So like Big Knuckle Bodyguard, for example, is no longer like Goliath level of premium stats, but he's now also on Sybil train. So like Sybil now kind of having a less than optimal stat line is like, well, she doesn't kill Belphegor. She can't swing over Scarlet Sabreur, which could come in handy this game. Like, it could be a lot, but it'll have to be decided here, because like Essia needs these wins.
Yes, he does, and he is 1 up, so he does have. He is in the lead. He can, if he wins this game, he's in. Period. He's just in.
Mm-hmm.
He has to win this set. Has to.
I would say, like, between beating aggro or beating Rune in that like dirt burn sort of shell that Marmotte has created as well, it's got a pretty good shot at it. But how he approaches this turn is super interesting to me now that I actually see how he does it. I was thinking most of the time you just kind of commit an Ayala here, but instead he's like, I'm gonna threaten that spider web and be able to shoot past it when I get to the point that I can evolve.
I think. See, this is hard for me because I think that he may have wanted to play the Ayala instead. And it's because at least he gets the point if the Ayala is killed. Now he's just going to be on 5 play points, and it didn't ramp this turn. Possibly.
Yeah, so the Breath of the Salamander is not awake next turn.
Right. And that's what I find to be a little questionable about this line, because you need to be able to play Breath of the Salamander. That's like your moneymaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know.
Perhaps, right? Let's try to like, if we could take a look at this from like the upside down perspective. Let's say he doesn't want to go for a breath. Perhaps even this turn there's not that much threat on the board, or threat coming from Marmotte on the board, so it feels perfectly fine. Probably just go for Fervor. His Sybil will heal him next turn, and he now does have access to breath. He's probably just reading, you know, maybe the burst isn't going to come out yet. It's just my opponent's turn 3 and I'm on, 6 play points. I'll take it easy. I'll heal. I'll do what Dragon does.
Well, now this is where the game really shifts. Okay, and I say that because now Breath is active. Sybil is also active.
Yeah, it's like the entire class just wakes up, basically.
Yeah.
It's funny because, like, I feel like Overflow and Enhance are sometimes just, like, nearly synonymous concepts. Like, Overflow is the only difference is that you don't really have to pay up the rest of the way, but with like examples like Breath of the Salamander, you just have to get your play points up to a certain amount to get this extra effect off of it.
Right.
And I feel like being there is already probably going to be so much for him. He has a lot of options on how he wants to deal with this. I think even just Breath here is completely fine for him. Sybil doesn't have a super strong follow-up.
I think that Breath is fine. He could also do Sybil into Breath. So he could Sybil, Evo, trade, play Breath, and still clear some things.
Yeah, on hindsight, this is a really, really, really strong play. He gets very, very close to these Bahamut's. It's kind of unfortunate that like the Ayalas never having been developed have sort of lost their purpose really. When you play Ayalas on 9, they're just fighters. Like the second effect isn't really good.
Right. They're worse than fighter because fighters at least he's a 2 play point card. They're worse than fighter.
Pretty much. Oh, that was actually worth noting. I was trying to look for every single scenario where the change to Sybil was important. Right there, Sybil did not have the 1 extra defense she needed to survive that Saburo hit. And that, I think, is pretty big.
That's pretty massive, I think. You know what I'm thinking this turn is? I'm thinking this turn is play Saha Quail into the Bahamut. Yeah, there you go. Do you think, man? Big Daddy Bahamut?
I like it, but it actually, interestingly enough, doesn't really leave behind a board for Essia. Ooh, is he throwing Bahamut into... Whoa!
Whoa! Well, I guess... I don't know how to justify that.
Okay, it may have looked really, really difficult. Because we're looking at this like, okay, control deck. You just wait and you play your Bahamuts. But you know what?
Right.
That was like the coolest decision I've ever seen. He's like,
yeah, it was
who
a
needs
really good
2 Bahamuts? I'm against aggro blood. I'm throwing it in.
You know what? Well, it did leave him with the Sockwell in play, and he did have to deal with it. So now it's like, what does BestMarmotte do about a 13-13 in his face? Plays Caraboss.
Yeah. You play Caraboss and you kind of cross your fingers. I mean, okay. So Essia doesn't have 1 damage, right?
Not currently.
Well, I don't know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have 1. That statement is 100% true.
The statement is true, but does it actually matter? Maybe.
Well, I definitely think that if you're Essia, you have to kill this Caraboss. You can't leave it there.
I'd be beyond surprised if he decided to leave this up. But considering his use of the previous Bahamut, I'm like, you know what, I'm liking this. Okay. Takes the safe route. Good man.
Yeah, that's smart. Okay, well, do we just do we cue the fat lady?
Probably. I mean, the whole gang's here, right? You got Angel, the Word Urius, and Vania showing up to raid this Bahamut, but
yeah,
they don't have the gear for this. They can't do this. I don't know, man. This is gonna hurt to watch.
Yeah. Just cue the fat lady. All right, guys, just cue her. It's her time to sing because this game's over. Wrap it up.
At the very least, he does put up a pretty decent fight. I mean, and one of the coolest things about Bahamut, my favorite thing about the card, is the fact that it limits its own attack options with like whatever you have left on board. I sometimes wish it was like everything, but if you just can't flood enough, that's it.
Essia will win 2-0, and that means that BestMarmotte is out of there. He is not going to make it. Essia moves on to the regional finals, tying up all those score lines, and so that's how the cookie crumbles. Fatina, Kionis, and Essia will be our representatives from Group A to go to the regional finals.